Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, I want to show you how to color Mr. Freeze, who I drew in the last video. And I drew that following the process shown in the book, How to Draw Batman, Superman, and Other DC Superheroes and Villains. And I'll have a link in the description below. I mentioned in that video that this process is similar to the one that you see in How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, which I'll also link below. I typically don't draw like this, but I thought it'd be fun and interesting to kind of follow this process, which is something I'm going to try to adapt more into my work, because I do feel like the end result is more easier to achieve rather than just trying to start drawing, which is what I typically do. So in this video with the coloring, I'll show you how to use layers and create color palettes and things like that in Blender. Use the fill tool. So hopefully you find this video helpful. If so, please like and subscribe, and let's get started. Okay, so I've got my color list pulled up, and there's actually more colors here than you would think if you count the shadows. So I'm going to show you how to create the fill colors we're going to use for this, and then I'll show one or two, and then I'll speed it up and do the rest, and then I'll be right back. So if you look on the properties panel over here on the right, you'll see that you have a grease pencil object, and then the material. You'll see that you have the grease pencil properties and then the material properties. So the grease pencil colors are made up of the material properties. And you can see we have 4 here. I'm only using solid stroke, so I'm going to click on square stroke and delete that. I'll keep solid fill because we'll use that, and then dot stroke, I'm going to cancel that out. So solid fill, I'm going to double click on that, and I'm going to name it light blue. I'm going to go ahead and create all of these now. So I have, let's see, 11. So I've got light blue. I'm just going to hit plus to create another one, then hit new. So that's 2, and I'll do that 9 more times. I'm going to grab this and bring it down so I can see all of them. And then I'll go through and double click all of these and rename them. So I'll speed this part up. Okay, so I've got all those created and named. And then let me click on light blue. And I'll click on surface. And we'll pull this up so we can see the options. And we're going to actually draw with these. So I'm going to draw the fill. So I don't need a stroke on. And currently light blue, since we had the fill material to start with, fill is checked, stroke is not. So there won't be a stroke around this. And then fill is checked, so that'll be what we use. I'm going to double click on base color. Actually, it's one click on base color, and I've got the number up here already, so I'm going to highlight that in my Word document, copy it. Click on here, go to hex, hit Control V, enter, and now we have our light blue. Now, something I should have done to make this quicker is that I should have duplicated light blue for the rest of these. That way stroke would automatically be turned off and fill would be turned on. So now that's an extra step I have to do, which isn't time consuming really, but it would have just been quicker to have done it that way. So again, I'm going to click on dark blue. We've got a new material. I'm going to go to surface. I'm going to turn off stroke, turn on fill. I'm going to copy my number. I'm going to click into base color. Hex is already highlighted, hit Control V, enter, and now we have our dark blue. So that's all there is to creating the materials in grease pencil. And again, if you were wanting to draw with like a normal pencil, you would have stroke checked and not fill. And then you can do one where, you know, it's both of them checked. So you could have a stroke color and then a different color for the fill, and it would do them both at the same time. I typically haven't found a use for that. Just in the way I work, but it could be helpful for some people. So I'm going to speed this up and add all the colors, and then we'll get back to the drawing. Okay, now we've got our colors set up, and it's just helpful if you're planning ahead to go ahead and set those up first, because it'll just make the drawing process much more enjoyable, because you can quickly just grab the color and you don't have to deal with setting that up as you go. To me, it's less distracting if I don't have to do that as I work. Okay, now I'm going to go in and color this. So I think I'll start with base colors. So let me go to the grease pencil object, and I've got a layer already called gray. So let me change that to match the um, color name. So let me say light gray. And I could go ahead and set up my layers now, but I think I'll wait on that. So you can see the light gray, and then the shadows are on top of it. So as long as I have closed lines, I can use the layer beneath it to fill in. So with that light gray layer selected, I want to get the fill tool, and then I want to go back to here and choose the light gray. And then I want to fill in all those areas. So you kind of have to double click to do that. That actually looks dark gray. Let me see. No, it's light gray. Let me double click. Well, let me go to surface. And I am going to bring that up just a little bit. Okay, I think that's good. And one good thing about creating colors in Blender like this is that you can adjust it as you go. So if I decide later this looks too red or it's too light or too dark, I can go in here and change that. And every time that color's been used, it will automatically change with it. So that is a benefit. So let me go through here and do the rest of it. Okay, and I'll probably do the gun separately because it looks a little more complicated. Well, I can look at it. Let's see. So that one, and then there'll be a little cleanup here too. That one. You see how it's overlapping the ink lines? So I'm going to come back in and I'll change this layer and bring it back on top. So you see it's not filling this in. So I could take the draw tool with that still selected and I want to reduce the radius, and I can just draw this in like that. So you won't be able to see that, how ragged it looks when I bring the ink layer back on top. Okay, so let me see about the gun. I'll add those highlights separate. So I'm going to go back to the fill tool. So I'm going to go back to the draw tool and fill this in. So I'm going to go back to Grease Pencil Properties. I'm going to click on the final, click this little drop down here and choose Duplicate. So now I've got that. So I'm going to say Overlay. And I'll click this arrow up to bring it up. And now you can see how it's covering up that. So if I click back on the light gray layer and I go in here and you can see I can be messy with it and it'll still be covered up. I think that's everything we need for that. So I want to keep all this separate. I think it's just easier to work that way. So I'm going to click the plus sign to create another layer. I'm going to double click on that and change it to light blue. Then we'll go to materials and choose the light blue option. You can also click up here and choose those from the drop down. So I'm going to get the paint tool, double click in there. Okay, now I'll get the draw tool and clean this up. So I'm going to use my tablet for that. It's a little quicker. So you can see I got some white spots. If I want to address those, I can choose the light gray, go to that layer, and just fix those. I'm going to go back to light blue, go back to the light blue layer. I've got my pen set up, so the click on it, the button, if I combine that with shift, I can pan the view so it's easier to get around here really quick. Okay, I think that looks good. And then I'll go ahead and do the helmet. Now I'll do a skin first. So I'm going to go to the grease pencil properties, hit plus to create another layer, double click on that. Change that to light skin. You could also name these like, skin flat and then skin shadow. So now I want to choose that color, paint bucket tool. Then I'm going to choose the pencil tool, clean this up. Can't wait to do the helmet last because it'll be on top of the face. So now I want to create another layer. Actually, I want to save this. Make sure you save your work. I want to create another layer, and I want to change it to dark gray. And then I want to choose the dark gray color. Make sure on the dark gray layer. And see, it looks like some on his neck. So I'm just going to draw this in. And I'll scroll out. And then I'll do this on his shoulder. And again, what I was talking about in the last video is sometimes the hardest part for me is to actively look at what I'm looking at and really think about what I'm seeing. And that makes, learning a lot easier if you really pay attention to what you're doing and comparing it to what you're working on. I want to watch TV shows and I want to watch or listen to music, but it's hard for me to concentrate. And I definitely do a better job when I'm not distracted. Do you think there's better drawing programs than Blender? But the pencils in Blender feel really good. And when you couple that with the ability to include 3D objects and animate, while the workflow isn't traditional, I think Blender offers a lot of opportunities to implement new things in your workflow. And I really like the use of 3D, especially with freestyle, to do the outlines. Okay, so I'm going to go to the layers and click plus and change that to dark blue. Then we'll go to materials and choose dark blue. So I'm going to go to sculpt mode here, hit the grab tool. I'm going to bring this in just a little bit so I can get it underneath that line. Actually, I want to do that. So before doing that, I'm going to go to my layers palette, pull this down, and I'll lock all of these except dark blue. So I don't want the Sculpt brush affecting those. No, I'll unlock those. Well, I'm already done with those, so let me unlock overlay. And I'll unlock dark gray because I need to fill in the circle here. So I'm going to go back to draw mode, click on dark gray color, and go to the fill tool and fill that circle in. Okay, I'm going to go back to my dark blue layer. Looks like I need to adjust this some, so let me go to draw mode, sculpt mode, lock those layers. I'll bring this up a little bit. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good. So now I'm going to go to the head, and I'm going to click plus to add a new layer. I'll double click on that and type in helmet. And I want to choose helmet glass. And I'll go back to make sure I'm on that layer. And I want to click in, and then I want to click on plus to add another layer. I want to click helmet highlight. And then I want to go to materials, click helmet highlight, make sure I'm on that layer. I want to draw that highlight in. And then I'm going to go back to materials and choose dark skin. I'm going to add a layer plus, and then add dark skin. And then I want to hit this arrow key down because I want it to be below the helmet and the highlight. So let me draw that in. And then hit plus again and put eyes. I'm going to go get that material. Fill was unchecked. So see, when I rechecked that, it showed up again. So that's another example of being able to adjust the colors as you go and it affecting what you've already colored. Okay, I think that's everything but the gun. So I'm going to go back to my layers. I'm going to choose, I want to unlock light blue. Then I'll go get my light blue color, fill tool, color that in. Then I'll click on dark gray and then unlock dark gray, click on that. Get the paint bucket tool and then click there. Then grab the pencil tool. And I'm going to click on my dark blue layer, get the dark blue material, and fill in that finger. Then we'll go back to dark gray, fill this in. Okay, I want to go back to the layers. I'm going to click plus, double click on here and say blue gun tip. And then I'm going to get another layer, change it to smoke. Okay, and I may just, to finish this off quickly, I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to change the name to gun barrel. And then I'm going to choose light gray, and I'm going to choose the fill tool and fill this in, fill in the rest of it, and then I'll go back in and add some highlights. Okay, now I'm going to choose the dark gray color, and I'll color in this barrel while I get the pencil tool. Okay, just to finish this off, I'm going to go back to the colors. I'm going to click on plus to add one more color, and I'm going to click new. I'm going to change it to gun highlight. Turn off stroke, turn on fill. I'm going to change that color to kind of a light brown. That's probably good. And again, if it's not right, I can go back in and change it pretty easy. Okay, I think, no, I'm missing his hand shadow. So let me go to dark blue, material, dark blue. Let me do his hand real quick. Okay, so there's our colored Mr. Freeze in Blender using grease pencil. Hope you found this video helpful. And again, I think the book is worth a purchase if you want to do practices like this. Again, I think being able to see the colors and how they work and with a limited palette, I think it's pretty helpful. And then watching the process from stick figure to finished figure. So let me know what you think. And let me fix this one last thing. Okay, and there's our finished product. Thanks for watching. Hope you found this helpful. If so, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.